Oh, this is one of my favorite places to be in the wheat field. The wheat breeding program is what I want to talk about. It actually started back in the 1930s, and it's still going on. It's just it's a step-by-step process, and every little rung of the ladder, every little brick on the pyramid, whatever you want to call it, adds to the overall picture. And that's really what we're doing here. And so we have new varieties that are coming out almost every few years, and each one's better than what we had before. If anybody's growing an old variety, then no matter whose it is, whether it's from a company or a university or whatever it might be, that's not good, because they're making progress. They're making progress on yield, making progress on quality, on the bread baking quality, making definitely progress on disease resistance and insects and pests like that just continue to change. So we've got to just keep moving forward, because without moving forward, we're losing ground. So this is I moved here about 2001, and so it's been 18, 19 years for me now, and it's been a great part of my career is to be here in Amarillo with the Texas A&M AgriLife Research Center. It's just, I couldn't imagine a better job than this. That germplasm building is very important. We'll look through a few varieties in a little bit, but in my time, 2003 was when TAM 111 was first released. And then 2005 was TAM 112 when it was released. They were the number 1 and 2 varieties all throughout Texas. They're certainly the number 1 and 2 varieties in western Kansas for several years. But they've been replaced. There are better things now. But that germplasm is part of our building process. We're also going to talk about TAM 113 and TAM 114 and TAM 115. All of those have TAM 111 and TAM 112 has old genetics in it, plus new genetics to build where we are now. And if we talk again in 10, 15 years, then we're going to be talking about our TAM 115 crosses and TAM 205 crosses and new things in the pipeline. So that's really what I want to get across. It's a step-by-step process, and the value that we have is our germplasm building that has been going on for 70, 80 years now with Texas A&M AgriLife, and each step is a little bit better. We have a fantastic team. I'm here in Amarillo, and my responsibility here for the Amarillo breeding program is the high plains and rolling plains of Texas. And then we have a strong breeding program in College Station, which handles a lot of the other state. So we have that multiple locations. We have down south Texas that has heavy disease resistance, or has heavy disease pressure, and so therefore we get heavy disease resistance out of that. And we have insects and pests that are different in East Texas than they are in West Texas, different in South than they are in North. So we have temperature differences, we have rainfall differences. If anybody in Texas that drives east to west or north to south knows those things. And all of that together really is why we have such a strong breeding program. Last year was it was a good yield, a lot of good yields. We had some 70, 80 bushel dryland yields. This year we're going to have some 10, 20, 30 bushel dryland yields, because we had good rains for a while and then they stopped on us. So that's what we deal with. This irrigated nursery is such a great place because it shows us what that high-end yield potential is. And we go other locations for disease, and we go other locations for insects and pests, and so that germplasm building and the strong team that we have and that strong environment is really what makes a breeding program. I want to talk a little bit about the germplasm building program that we have. That is a core part of our overall success as a breeding program. We have the team, we have the environments, but right now we'll talk about the germplasm. TAM 111 was released in 2003, but it actually became the top wheat variety in the whole U.S. probably by about 2008, 2009, and held that position until about 2015. Outstanding variety, great drought tolerance, came through Kenny Porter and Mark Lazar's program, so that's where the heritage of that came from. and we're using it in a lot of crosses. That's why I want to talk about some of these other things, is how we're using it. So TAM 111 was very, very core for a long time. TAM 112 actually came from one of the same parents of TAM 111, which was TAM 105 and then TAM 107. TAM 112 has outstanding drought tolerance. It has the green bug resistance, and wheat curl mite resistance, and so we have used that a lot in our germplasm building program. That as alone, standalone, TAM 111, TAM 112 are just not what they used to be. We have better varieties out there, and but the germplasm has really been a highlight to our program. TAM 113 is a strong part of the program, and it goes back to the same parentage as TAM 111, which is TAM 105. One of Kenny Porter's strong varieties. It was the #1 variety in the country for a long time, decades ago. But TAM 113 came from that, 111 came from that, and each one we gained a little bit more. We have leaf rust and stripe rust resistance that came from another source, and the quality is a step up. So TAM 114 was a 2014 release, and it was a cross with TAM 111, but yet it has outstanding leaf disease resistance, which 111 did not have, and it's a huge step up in bread baking quality. It's just amazing that what this does, what the millers and bakers tell us about it, and it is sought out specifically for its milling and baking properties. Another project we have going on with that is actually looking at whole wheat bread out of TAM 114. It has a strong dough strength. It actually even has an improved taste for the consumer on whole wheat products. So that's a important thing, is looking at what that consumer acceptance is and what the consumer wants, as well as the farmer and of course the end user, which is the not just the miller and baker, but it's the consumer. So that's why taste is important. But 114 has outstanding quality, and it's gone from being released in 2014 to this year being the #1 variety in Texas as far as acreage. So I think it is replacing a lot of the TAM 111 acres, but it actually has the improved quality, and it also has the leaf rust and stripe rust and stem rust resistance that we have to have. TAM 115 is one of the newest varieties, and it is actually a cross, developed from a cross of TAM 112. And so like TAM 112, it has drought tolerance. Like TAM 112, it has green bug resistance. It has wheat curl mite resistance. But unlike TAM 112, it has leaf rust and stripe rust resistance, continues to have strong stem rust resistance. So it's a big improvement over 112, but it has that parentage, and that's just incredibly important. Here, at some time in the future, we'll be talking about all our TAM 115 crosses that are coming out. All of our varieties are what we call dual purpose, meaning that we look at that fall grazing potential, and then a lot of producers will remove the cattle in late February, early March, and get a full grain yield on them too. But some, like TAM 204, actually has the awnless or beardless trait, and so it can actually be used for graze out, and so season-long grazing if needed. So TAM 204 is also from TAM 112. So all the things that are in TAM 112 are there: the drought tolerance, the green bug resistance, and the wheat curl mite resistance is all right there. In addition, it has the acid soil and soil-borne resistance, so we can go a little bit further east than TAM 112. So the grazing is a big part, and the beardless are part of that, but everything that we have has the grazing ability too. Another big stepping stone as far as the progress that we've made in the breeding program is TAM 205. TAM 205 was also released last year, just like TAM 115, but it has very different characteristics. and TAM 115 can be used in dry land and irrigated. TAM 205 is probably more for irrigated on the high plains, and very high yield and has excellent baking quality, just like 115. So both of those are a big step up. The TAM 205 in addition has the wheat streak resistance, and it also has soil-borne resistance, acid soil. It can move east very, very, very easily. So that's kind of what we're doing on germplasm building. The way that we do things is not public releases anymore. That was back in the 90s, but since about 2000, Texas A&M has been licensing every variety to a commercial company. And sometimes the big ones, like TAM 111 was licensed to Syngenta, but also there's smaller companies such as TAM 112 and TAM 115 licensed to Watley Seed Company, and Adaptive Genetics licensed TAM 114 and TAM 205. The point is that we do the research. We develop the very best varieties possible, and then we put it where they can be marketed the best. Sometimes within a certain region in Texas, sometimes statewide, sometimes it moves on up into Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado even. So that marketing is a very, very important part of what we do. Our program is funded not only by the wheat producers throughout Texas, and that's usually by the Texas Wheat Producer Board, but also through that seed sales. Every time a bag of seed is sold and royalty is paid, some of that comes back to the breeding program and the whole team that used to develop that. We use it for equipment purchases, but also use just to fund our program. A strong breeding program, we can't continue without that sort of continuation of not support from the state, support from grants, but a big part is support from the Texas wheat producers, and then also receipts from royalties from the seed sales.